All right, I'm fresh off watching the Charlo Trout fight. Definitely the best fight of the night, by far. The best, most competitive fight of the night. It could have easily been a draw, man. I mean, if I absolutely had to pick a winner, I would pick Charlo. But I'm saying that I could be saying that I'm a little biased, because I like Charlo. But I would have scored it a draw. I mean, the fight was back and forth the entire time. Okay, um, for what I seen, I thought Trout was the more craftier fighter. I thought his counters were. I thought he was a little bit more consistent throughout each round. Okay, um, I thought he was countering a little bit more often, and I thought he was just giving Charlo a little bit more looks. Even with a loss, this was the best I've ever seen Austin Trout. I mean, the dude was really trying to win this fight. This is the most impressive I've seen him, and he took some some good shots from a big man that has a lot of punching power and ate all of them. I mean, he fell a couple times against Dawson. He fell and got dropped against Canelo. He fell and got dropped against Lara. But this is the best I've seen him. I know he lost, and I know I predicted Charlo to win this fight, but I thought Charlo was gonna win a little bit more clearly, and Trout proved, and an announcer said this. Trout proved that he's still one of the best at 154 by far. All right, whatever doubt there was about Austin Trout, we can get rid of that now because this fight could have been a draw. I mean, I wish they gave it a draw. I'm feeling a little bit like how I felt in the Provodnikov Algieri fight, where I wish they just gave them a draw because the fight was that close, and that's how I felt on this fight. It was just back and forth the whole time, and I thought Trout did edge a little bit towards the end. I thought in the middle, I thought Charlo was pulling it off, and a little bit in the middle, I thought he was like landing the harder shots. But I thought at the end, Trout pulled it off a little bit in the last remaining rounds, and that was the first time that Charlo went past I think they said 7 rounds. It's the first time Charlo went past 7 rounds, so it was definitely an experience for him. The toughest fight that Charlo had by far up to this point, And the thing about Charlo is whereas I thought Trout was being a little bit more crafty, giving him different looks. He was really consistent with the right hook. He was consistent with the straight left hand. Okay, where I thought Charlo was countering well as well, and he was bullying him. Definitely using his size as an advantage. And when he got Trout against the ropes and started throwing combinations, that's when Trout was in the most trouble. Okay, but Charlo, I mean, it was close. It was really close. I thought 115, 113 was fair, or maybe a draw. I don't think it should have been any more than 115, 113. I, the reason why I say if I had to pick someone to win the fight, I pick Charlo because I can't say, even though Trout did very well, and I think the fight should have been a draw, I cannot sit here and say that Trout actually won the fight. He did enough to win. To actually win the fight, and being that he's a challenger, I can't say that he won for sure. I could say that it could have been a draw. You know what? I would have loved to see a rematch in this fight, but I thought Charlo was definitely bullying him at some points. All right, when he landed, it seemed to be a little bit more effective than Trout. Trout was landing clean. Trout was landing power shots. I mean, Trout was never considered to be a puncher, but I think if he fought some guys tonight, just like he said in his post-fight video, post-fight interview, he said that, when it's close fights like this, I never get the decision. I'm just gonna have to straight start knocking guys out. And you know what? He fought as if he wanted to go for the knockout because Trout was throwing nothing but power punches in this fight. Okay. But I thought, they could have made it a draw, but I'm not disappointed with the win with Charlo. I think Charlo still was landing, being that he is more powerful, bigger guy, and his punches, had a lot more pop to him. It was kind of similar to how Cotto and Canelo was. I don't think that fight was just as hard to judge, but there were people that say that Cotto won the fight because Cotto was being more busy. He was more consistent, whereas Canelo, the people that think Canelo won, The punches were more flush, harder punches, and I kind of see this fight this way. Even though I still think this fight was much harder to score, much harder to score. I mean, I didn't sit here round by round because it was just back and forth. Like this fight here would have been one of those fights you got to watch a few times to really come up with a real decision. And the judges had a rough night to score that fight because that fight was really, really, really close. Um, it doesn't take. Listen, and I'm for the people that I seen the Twitter and I was looking at what people were saying, and from based on the crowd reaction, um, I see a lot of people thought the fight should have been draw. I didn't see too many people that said Trout won, but a lot of people thought the fight should have been a draw. And it doesn't really take away from Charlo. I think Trout just proved that he's still one of the top dogs. A lot of guys, including myself, kind of, pushed him out of the top five. Wasn't sure if he was one of those guys that was considered to be someone that could still win a title. A lot of people was kind of putting him in that gatekeeper area. And I think he's removed from the gatekeeper. I mean, you could still be a gatekeeper, but he can still very well be a champion again at 154 based on his performance tonight. You know, um, I don't know what's next for him. Monterosian lost that night against Lara. Maybe Trout could fight Monterosian. There's plenty of fights still left for Trout, and I think, if Julian Williams, and I saw Julian Williams tweeting, and a lot of people were tweeting about Charlo's performance as far as being overrated. Listen, he fought a very good Austin Trout, and you can't really take nothing away from that kid because you got to remember that was his first big step up. I don't think K9 was a step up for Charlo. I thought that was a very predictable fight in my opinion, regardless of K9's championship status. I thought it wasn't a big step up for Charlo. I mean, as far as resume, I know K9 has fought a lot of good guys, but he didn't have the skills to stand up against Charlo, and Charlo is just too big, too strong. And Trout actually had the skills. He was being crafty. His fundamentals and everything was working out for him a little better than Charlo, but Charlo's size and his punching power was just, and boxing ability too, because Charlo was still a very good boxer. It's just that he was having trouble because Charlo was giving him so many different looks, and he kept moving, and he was countering well, and he was doing heavy movement. He wasn't able to land that jab as easily as he normally is. You can't take nothing away from Charlo, because if it was J-Rock, Julian Williams in that ring, and he fought Trout, because that fight that fight was supposed to happen too, Julian Williams might not have looked as good neither, because we all thinking that Trout is not really one of the top guys anymore, and he comes and throws a performance like this. And I think anyone would have looked bad against Trout that night. I know Lara completely outclassed him, but that was a different fighter. Lara's a southpaw as well, and Lara is just, I think his style just gave. I think that was just a bad stylistic matchup for Austin Trout. Whereas these other guys like J-Rock, just like the Charlos, or even the Demetrius Andrade, or maybe even Vondas Monterosian, or some of the other guys. All right, he gave him a very, very tough fight. You can't take nothing away. It was a really good fight. It was my favorite fight of the night as far as 154, and these three fights. That was my my favorite fight. The Canelo. I'm sorry. The Monterosian Lara fight is coming on. I actually have it on mute right now. I seen the fight already, but I saw it on my cell phone. I'm going to just watch it again to see how it looks and give you my opinion. But I don't think that fight was as hard to call as this Trout Charlo fight. I think this Trout Charlo fight was very hard to call. And I thought it could have been a draw. So anyway, that's my summary of the fight. As far as Charlo, I just wanted to make up one point. Charlo is supposed to be fighting Julian Williams next. I hope the fight happens. It should be happening. I think Charlo, Jermall Charlo, after this fight, he should go up to 160. I know he made the weight easily. I know he made it 153, but I see the bone structure in his face. If you could see the difference between him and Jermall, you will see that Jermall actually looks thinner in the face. And even in the back, when he bent over and I saw his rib, the back of his spine, he looks thinner trying to make weight, okay, at 154. I think it's time for him to move up. He's a little bit bigger than his brother. And I think it's time for him to go to 160. But after the Julian Williams fight, because if he fights Julian Williams, at least he will, we will know at 160 who's the top guy at 160, or at least one of the top guys. I mean, both of those guys are already two of the top guys, but him and J Rock is the fight, to me, in my opinion. All right. And if he is to beat J Rock, whether win or lose, I think he should go up to 160 because, once you start looking thin in your face, he might even be better at 160, all right, making the weight much easier and everything like that. All right. And it will eliminate some of the confusion too as far as who's gonna fight who now, because if he moves up to 160 and vacate his title, at least there'll be another belt on the line. We could get some more matchups, some unification matchups, because now you have three guys in the same camp or the same team that will not fight each other. Lara and the Charlo twins, and then you have Liam Smith. All right, I don't know what's up with Liam Smith. I don't know if Andre's chasing that WBO title again, but all we know is that Lara and the Charlos won't fight each other, and Lara might move up to 160 as well. But I think Charlo definitely needs to do it. I think Lara should try to get the Triple G fight and pursue that fight, but I think he is going to remain at 154 in my opinion. But as far as, because he still has unfinished business to do at 154, he got to fight Andre in my opinion. All right, that fight needs to happen. It's long awaited. That fight needs to happen already. But Jermall Charlo definitely got to move up to 160 after this J Rock fight. We see that fight move up, win or lose, move up, unless they want to have a rematch or whatever. But I think he definitely needs to move up. I know he made weight, but if you look at the twins side by side, Jermall is looking like he's taking it easy, making the weight, whereas Jermall, he's starting to look thin in his face a little bit. All right, but good fight, great fight, great fight. All right, best fight of the night, and see you guys on the next one. I still got that Lara video to come out. All right, peace.